folks. Welcome to TWI Boxing Show. I'm your host, as always, Phil Brown, and I must say, delighted to be joined here with boxing royalty, the magnificent Keith Thurman. Looking forward to seeing Keith back in the ring soon, hopefully. But first of all, before we get to that, let me ask you, Keith, how have you been doing with COVID and everything else?
It's been hard on everybody. Last year was a real rough year, not a whole lot of excitement. But luckily for me, I live in Florida. Our governors and different things have been a little bit more lenient. We got a lot of outdoor seating when it comes to restaurants. We got beautiful views. We got the beaches to walk around. So it hasn't been the worst, but just hasn't been a great action-packed year. Definitely didn't get to travel as much as I normally do, hopping around states to states or maybe doing some international traveling that I really enjoy. So with those things, it is what it is. But it's allowed me to refocus and do what needs to be done with me, myself, my body, my team of people. I've added certain people to the team when it comes to health practitioners, getting my mental state right. Coming off of a loss, my first career loss, coming from being an undefeated champion to trying to become champion again. You just got to be in the right mindset. There were times throughout the year after the Pacquiao fight, I was beating myself up over it. And now, enough time has passed. All I want to do is get back in the ring and do what I do best, which is, being one of the best welterweights in the welterweight division today, regardless of what happened yesterday. I'm still one of the greatest welterweights in the welterweight division today. I have a lot of skills and talent to showcase in the division, in the ring. And I'm just looking forward to those opportunities, man. I still believe that the future is bright, like the sun shining behind me, baby. The future is bright. So I'm just looking forward to it. I know a lot of fans miss me. I miss being in action. And, I get to bring the action. When I get in the ring, fans know that it's going to be a fight that's really worthwhile.
Okay, you talk about the Pacquiao loss. I mean, to defend your career, defend yourself, to think about that, focus on that, it's a razor-thin defeat. First of all, it's an 8-division world champion. It's a razor-thin defeat. There's no disgrace in that. And many losses have been avenged with rematches. How did it affect you? Why didn't you look at all the great things you've done in your career and use that as something to defend yourself rather than one razor-thin defeat against one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen?
Because the razor thin part is what cut me so deep. You know what I mean? Let's talk about sports. You're overseas. We have was one of the best golfers. We have Tiger Woods, but I know you guys got some great golfers too over there, man. What's one of the greatest?
Rory McIlroy.
Roy McIlroy. It's like Roy McIlroy not getting the green jacket because of one putt. It's like him not winning the Euro Cup because of one putt. It's those razor thin losses that cut very deep, because understanding that you are there for a reason. You have the skills and the talent and all the attributes to come out victorious and to not be the victor. And then unlike golf, boxing isn't happening every weekend, right? Not happening every weekend. So at the end of the day, it was just more disappointing to lose in an event that you could have won over being dominated by one of the best fighters of this generation. It'd be different. Let's say Pacquiao stopped me in the 8th round or something. Being dominated is a different sensation and it has its own different mental constructs to it. But you can sit back and just be like, hey, man, he really got me. And I have to accept that, You're
right. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. Where it is so thin. Yeah.
So the razor thin part, it just ate at me a little bit longer and a little bit harder than other losses would have. But now we're back in a better light of things. We're looking at it, the full picture. And then ultimately, I don't even care about it no more because I get to be Keith Thurman. I get to be Keith Thurman without a belt. And we all know that's the best Keith Thurman there is. We all know that's the real dog right there, is when I don't have a title and I'm gunning for everybody, because I got the ammunition. I got my vest on. I got grenades sitting in the back.
Well, you got that hunger back. And look, Keith, sometimes in a defeat, narrow as it is, you learn a lot. Maybe that you wouldn't learn from a victory. When you look back in that Pacquiao fight, you look back at a defeat, did you change things? You talked about some of the things that you changed. Did you change things in your camp and change things how you prepare that maybe you wouldn't have changed if you'd have won?
That's a very great viewpoint, and that's something that we were able to come to the realization within ourselves, is that, I mean, right after the fight, I said it was a blessing and a lesson, because there is so much to take away from a loss.
Yeah.
And real champions, we get right back up and we climb the mountain again. You climb, there's an avalanche, it pushes you down the mountain. You don't just now you're back to midway on the mountain. You don't just go all the way down to the bottom. No, I came here to climb the mountain. I'm coming back to the top, and that's just how I feel. There's so much that I learned, just even being in the ring with Pacquiao, the way he fights, the way he throws his spurt combinations, the way he commits with his speed and power. Every time you're in the ring with an elite fighter, there's so much to learn. And the way that I've always been from the amateurs, I won 7 national titles. I didn't go to 7 national tournaments. There were so many nationals that I didn't win on certain years and certain events. And then other times when I came fully prepared in the right state of mind, I was victorious. I was able to beat all the fighters that showed up to these tournaments. And that's just how I feel right now, is just like the amateurs. You might have lost a major event. Wait till you in the next big event. Do you lose that one?
Correct.
Because I don't think so. When you keep putting Thurman in the ring, you're not going to get a whole bunch of losses. You're going to get a lot more W's over L's.
I'm a massive boxing fan. The Irish love fighters. We want to see you back in the ring. You've been a great fighter. We've seen some great fights from you over the years. You're an elite welterweight, one of the top in the division. What will we see from you in 2021?
We're in an interesting political situation. Like I said, I don't have a belt. I need these world champions to be willing to fight Keith Thurman and put their belts on the line. I don't have anything to offer besides the reputation that I bring, the excitement, the entertainment that I conspire when I get into that ring. But they have to accept this challenge. Keith one-time Thurman is not a champion. I'm back to a challenger. And I'm one of the baddest. Always been, always will be. Whether I was champion or challenger, I was one of the greatest threats in the welterweight division. Absolutely. And to this day, I still believe that I'm the greatest threat to the welterweight division. Thurman's been beat 1 time, but we know my name is 1 time. Who's going to beat Thurman 2 times?
I mean,
who's going to be that guy?
Look, we've seen lots of great fighters in the history of the sport have had a defeat. It does not define them, and I don't think it defines you either. I think you're in the sweet spot of your career. You're in the prime of your career.
32 years old.
Yeah, you're 32 years old. And
like I'm a Florida boy. I want to shine. I want to shine.
Has the layoff helped you, Keith, recover? You talked about your body. Has the layoff helped you with recovering from injuries? You had your shoulder injury, and you had your hand, etc. Does that help you?
It definitely, COVID and not pressing and jumping the gun, getting back in the ring, it definitely allowed a well-deserved recovery.
Yeah.
And then what I care more about is this mental game. I just care way more about mental health. We were talking about
absolutely.
Golf.
Huge.
Golf is one of the only sports where they have like mental coaches.
Yeah, I know.
Because they can be birdie, par, birdie, and then they can go hit what do they call it? A snowman. They can go get an 8 on a hole. And these are professionals slapping the ball around like there's some Joe that just put a club in their hand, So they have to be mentally strong. They have to deal with failure and overcoming a mistake. or a great mistake, and doing their best to not let that affect the rest of the game, not let that affect the rest of the tournament. It's simply similar to how when I got knocked down, I got up with a smile, you know, because I came here to fight, baby. Okay, you got the jump on me. I was just patting you up. I was just winning that round, and you steal it with one flurry at the end. Man, that's what made me smile, because he threw the right punch at the right time. My name's one time for a reason. It's a double-edged sword, you know. It's not a single-edged sword. It's not a samurai sword where only you are getting cut. One time is a name because I know I too can be over with one punch. That's the beauty of boxing. You know, we've seen it. We've seen someone dominate, but they're in with a puncher. And, you know, we've seen it mostly in heavyweights. You know, they're in the 10th round, the 11th round, the 12th round. I just saw some random thing on Instagram. This guy was getting beat. He was getting knocked down 5 times, once per round. And then he hits this guy with one uppercut and the fight's over. The fight's over. How do you turn the fight around? Because you're still in it to win it.
That's right.
And that's what I love.
Listen, we talked about what we had for you 2021. Obviously, one of the big fights in the welterweight division, possibly Errol Spence v Terence Crawford. Whether it happens or not, looks like Sean Porter could end up fighting Terence Crawford. I want to get your opinion first on, if that fight was to happen, Spence v Crawford, who would you take in that fight?
It's a tough one, man, you know, and the reason is due to Errol Spence's last performance, right? Errol Spence was not 100%. You know, we know that he had the layoff. He had the accident. And of course, somebody like me with multiple injuries throughout my career, I understand. I understand what it's like to get in the ring, challenge oneself, but know the world is about to not see the greatest performance that you can put out there. But you won, and you still got to defend your world title. You still got to keep your undefeated record. And so I know exactly the situation that he's in. But because of that situation, is it one fight? Is it one fight where you're not at your best? And then now, as long as you get the ball rolling, you're going to jump right back into being the fighter that you always were, and maybe even start outperforming your old performances? Are we going to see that, you know, the Errol Spence that walked through Bundu? Are we going to see that kind of Errol Spence again? You know, he wasn't able to stop Danny, but that's because Danny's a little bit more clever than a lot of people think. Even I had to learn that being in the ring with him. He's not as easy to hit. He really does know how to evade and protect himself. I think he doesn't throw enough punches. I think he's a little too defensive. And that's why he doesn't win these 12-round fights when it goes into the judges' hands. But Errol Spence has a great jab. He has great power in the welterweight division. I think Terence Crawford has good speed. I think it's interesting how he switches back and forth. I still think he's more dominant in his right-handed stance than his left-handed stance. But he seems to also have potential to have power in both hands. It's just a fight that I would have to just see how it develops. You know, I don't really like favoring either fighter. I like to just see which fighter, once when a fight like that is made, I like to see which fighter put in the hard work in training camp, stepped into that ring, and as they say in Spanish, came with their cojones. Okay.
Last question, Keith. Let me say an absolute privilege it is to have you on. I'd really love to get you back and do stuff in a little bit more detail, because I'd love to talk more about your fights and what have you, more about your life. But I want to ask you, we briefly touched on it. What would the perfect 2021 look like? When you were champion, you gave lots of fighters opportunities that were challengers. What would a perfect 2021 look like for you? When can we see you? When do you think we'll see you back in the ring?
I mean, either fighting. We're in an interesting place. Ugas just got elevated. And he has the belt that I lost, right? I want my belt back, you know, if it's the WBA, if it's the WBC. And so for me, I'm looking at Ugas, possibly Errol Spence, you know, there's always possibility of me fighting my rivals of like a Sean Porter and Danny Garcia. Both of them were really upset with losing over me.
Yeah.
They were respectable fights when they happened. So the perfect year for me though would be most likely just getting one of these belts back sometime this year. You know, no matter if I have to put myself in a title eliminator situation, if I can jump right into one of these world title matches. And ideally too, I would like to perform twice. You know, one time is okay, but 2 times is better, you know, and because I'm ready to get the ball rolling. I want to stay active. I know what it's like to be stagnant. And that's one thing I'm not letting my body do anymore. I'm not blowing up in weight. I'm maintaining weight. I'm training throughout the year. This year is going to be the first year in many years where there is no off season. Off season, I'm still going to be working on myself, working on my body, working on my strength, conditioning. Flexibility is a big thing. I want to prevent these injuries. I want to increase my range of motion, and just do something that I haven't done before. Like I said, I believe that I still have a lot to give to this beautiful sport of boxing, and that my best performances have yet to come. With the right state of mind, with the right form of discipline, I do believe that I can still dominate this division.
Keith, we'd love to see you back. You're a class actor, a gentleman. You've always been a great ambassador for the sport and truly wonderful entertainment every time we've watched you. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm honored you took the time to do it. I wish you nothing but the best, and I'd love to have an opportunity to speak to you again. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll talk again. We could talk about any past fights. I'll be happy.
I would love to do that.
Breakdowns for you. That's no problem, my man. Thank you for all
love
the
to do
love
that.
and support.
Thank you, brother. Take care, Keith. Take care. See ya. Bye.